In this video we learn AutoCAD. Commands and setting. 1. Ellipse. Command for ellipse unit. 2. Make block. Command for make block. 3. Insert block. Command for insert block. Ellipse. Creates an ellipse or an elliptical arc. The first 2 points of the ellipse determine the location and length of the first axis. The third point determines the distance between the center of the ellipse and the end point of the second axis. Axis endpoint defines the first axis by its 2 endpoints. The angle of the first axis determines the angle of the ellipse. The first axis can define either the major or the minor axis of the ellipse. Distance to other axis. Defines the second axis using the distance from the midpoint of the first axis to the endpoint of the second axis. 3. Rotation creates the ellipse by appearing to rotate a circle about the first axis. Move the crosshairs around the center of the ellipse and click. If you enter a value, the higher the value, the greater the eccentricity of the ellipse. Entering 0 defines a circular ellipse. Block. Block definition dialog box. Defines and names a block. Name. Names the block. The name can have up to 255 characters and can include letters, numbers, blank spaces, and any special character not used by the operating system or the program for other purposes. The block name and definition are saved in the current drawing. Base point specifies an insertion base point for the block. The default value is 0, 0, 0. Specify on screen. Prompts you to specify the base point when the dialog box is closed. Pick insertion base point. Temporarily closes the dialog box so that you can specify an insertion base point in the current drawing. X specifies the X coordinate value. Y. Specifies the Y coordinate value. Z. Specifies the Z coordinate value. Objects specifies the objects to include in the new block and whether to retain or delete the selected objects or convert them to a block instance after you create the block. Select objects. Closes the block definition dialog box temporarily while you select the objects for the block. Quick Select displays the Quick Select dialog box, which defines a selection set. Retain retains the selected objects as distinct objects in the drawing after you create the block. Convert to block. Converts the selected objects to a block instance in the drawing after you create the block. Delete. Deletes the selected objects from the drawing after you create the block. Select objects. Closes the block definition dialog box temporarily while you select the objects for the block. Block unit. Specifies the insertion units for the block reference. Hyperlink. Opens the which you can use to associate a hyperlink with the block. Definition. Description specifies the text description of the block. Description specifies the text description of the block. Insert block. Inserts a block or drawing into the current drawing. A good practice is to insert a block from a block library. A block library can be a drawing file that stores related block definitions, or it can be a folder that contains related drawing files, each of which can be inserted as a block. With either method, blocks are standardized and accessible to multiple users. You can insert your own blocks or use the blocks provided in the Design Center or tool palettes. Name. Specifies the name of a block to insert, or the name of a file to insert as a block. Browse opens the Select Drawing File dialog box, a standard file selection dialog box, where you can select a block or drawing file to insert. Insertion point. Specifies the insertion point for the block. Specify on screen. Specifies the insertion point of the block using the pointing device. Scale. Specifies the scale for the inserted block. Specifying negative values for the X, Y, and Z scale factors. Insert. Rotation. Specifies the rotation angle for the inserted block in the current UCS. Specify on screen. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.